So, in under 72 hours, and actually from the time of the missiles launching to striking their target somewhere around 30 minutes, U.S. forces under Operation Epic Fury turned Iran's conventional navy into a smoking wreckage. 9 major ships sunk by March 1st, and then CENTCOM confirmed all 11 vessels eradicated March 2nd. Naval headquarters burning at Bandar Abbas, that was struck as well. This was a showcase of pure American air power and naval dominance. When the U.S. military decides to unleash hell on threats like the Iranian Navy, it's just not going to be a good day for them. The course strikes on those ships, especially the pierside hits, came from a massive synchronized opening salvo of dozens of Tomahawk cruise missiles slamming home in as little as 30 to 45 minutes. That's their flight time from their nearby positions, with Iran's Navy basically being a pincushion at this point, soaking up those Tomahawk missiles. And when the Tomahawk missile isn't enough, F-35s followed up likely with JDAM bombs for precision cleanup. President Trump called it overwhelming. And that's exactly what it was. Precision and dominance that crippled Iranian sea power while protecting shipping lanes. Now, the shipping lanes are being threatened right now still by Iran, and a lot of that is a hybrid threat. We're entering day 4 of Operation Epic Fury. Let's get into some of the breaking news on March 3rd, 2026, and then we'll go into the full details about how the Iranian Navy was vaporized. So President Trump is saying that Iranians want to talk, but President Trump is saying it's too late to hold talks with Iran. On a brief post on True Social, he said their air defense, Air Force, Navy, and leadership is gone, and they want to talk. Also, some breaking news coming in. Iran is stepping up retaliatory strikes as the U.S. prepares for a long war. So, of course, they're going to say that they're going to step things up. That's pretty much all they can do at this point is just pure propaganda. And you can see a lot of the propaganda coming off of certain sites on X, basically saying that Iran is winning. That's what they're telling their people. That's the level of gaslighting that the Iranian regime is doing to their own people at this point, even setting up basic fake protests against America and pro-Ayatollah. Yeah, we're pro, the guy that wants to kill 30,000 of us. Yeah, he's just such a great dude at the end of the day. So the hubris and the gaslighting at this point is at level 11. And then here's what's coming out of places like Al Jazeera, basically a pro-Iranian news network. They're saying that the Trump admin offers scant evidence of Iranian threat in America First War. Yeah, the scant evidence. Al Jazeera, the 3,000 ballistic missiles that are the revolver held to the head of the Middle East, and seeing these shot drones and ballistic missiles strike residential areas. Yeah, that's very scant evidence. They're literally striking apartment complexes at this point in Bahrain, across the Gulf. They've launched 222 jets towards Kuwait, basically showing their neighbors that they could care less if they live or die. So complete ballistic missile coverage of that entire area would protect any nuclear weapon that they would get. And then Qatar says Iran didn't warn of missile attacks. No comms with Tehran at this point, because a lot of the leadership in Iran is basically gone. So, at this point, a lot of the leadership is gone, and there could be factions that are just launching these ballistic missiles with no plan. They likely have a lot of pre-planned coordinates in these ballistic missiles, and they can just blast off. They're hitting residential areas. They're obviously still trying to strike Tel Aviv, but the interception rate of these missiles is pretty astounding. 90% interception rate, which is great, but obviously it's still a threat at this point because it's so unpredictable about where these things are going to go. America is urging U.S. citizens to leave 14 Middle East countries amid the Iran war due to serious safety risks. We've seen the embassies in Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, across the entire region, embassy in Qatar, are being targeted by Shahad drones from Iran, also ballistic missiles hitting in and all around these different countries. Oil prices are obviously surging right now, and I'm going to get to that and why that's happening with the relative soft closure of the Straits of Hormuz. And then there's some rumors coming out that the newly appointed supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Arafi, has been killed in an airstrike just hours after being given the role. So again, the life expectancy for a new Ayatollah in Iran isn't very long at this point. And then, this is interesting, this is from the Los Angeles Times, and they said that toppling Iraq's Hussein unleashed chaos, and why Iran poses similar risks. Well, obviously there's going to be similar risks to that. So, I just think it's something that we got to talk about, guys. When there's war, when war happens, the transition time is chaos. War itself is chaos. But if you have a population that's willing to stand up and take over their country, like we saw the brave Iranians, 30,000 killed, and yet they're still in the streets standing up, wanting freedom, wanting a better life. So yes, Los Angeles Times, yeah, you're right, there will be chaos, but that's the goal of the U.S. military. Go in, strike the threat, take down those that are executing innocent civilians, and then allow a new era to form. So the focus early on was to neutralize naval assets that were docked at Bandar Abbas and Chabahar before they could scatter. In the first 24 hours alone, over 1,000 targets got hit across Iran. Warships, sub-anti-ship missile sites, all using standoff weapons to keep the U.S. military as safe as possible and try to take down the ballistic missile threat and protect partners in the region. Iran's surface fleet was very vulnerable. They said they could protect it, and they couldn't. It's mostly frigates like the Jamaran class 1,500-ton multi-role that also has anti-8 ship missiles and guns. They've got corvettes, not the corvette that the Ayatollah had bought for his midlife crisis, but actual naval corvettes and fast attack craft, plus bigger auxiliaries like the Macron. So the U.S. military exploited that, hitting them pier side. By March 1st, Trump announced 9 ships sunk. CENTCOM followed up confirming all 11 in the Gulf of Oman were gone, vaporized. Including specifics, Jamaran Majas corvettes sunk at Chabahar piers. The primary weapons for the ships were likely the Tomahawk cruise missile-fired and coordinated salvos from guided missile destroyers like the USS Thomas Hudner and USS Frank E. Peterson Jr., subsonic 550 MAPH, 1,000 LEB piercing warheads uniquely designed to take down these ships, GPS and terrain matching guidance for pinpoint accuracy on static targets. Flight times to Iranian ports averaged somewhere between 30 to 90 minutes. The U.S. strategy of shock and awe exploited the enemy and took care of business by going hard, deep, and fast and satisfying even the most demanding customer. This mirrors some Desert Storm vibes early on. Hit command and control air defenses. But where this has really stepped up is vaporizing the Navy. So from the Gulf War, this is a whole new approach of vaporizing an entire naval force and infrastructure of the Navy to keep them from shutting down the Straits of Hormuz. The infrastructure of the Navy was hit hard and quick dominance took over. The strategy here worked. Regular Iranian Navy was crippled. IRGC's Navy conventional side heavily degraded, and now the IRGC is going to focus on their asymmetric type warfare with those drones, missiles, and proxies. So, Iran's Navy never was a blue water powerhouse, but they rely on asymmetric tricks to try to punch above their weight. Basically, vessels like the Jamaran class that's equipped for anti-surface strikes with Enor and Qadr missiles, point defense SAMs, and basic ASW torpedoes gave them some standoff punch. While older Alvan-class derivatives and converted ships like Makarin added forward basing and drone support, post-strikes their big surface ships are toast, Jamaran types are sunk at piers, frigates are ablaze at Bandar Abbas. But the IRGC Navy still is reported to have hundreds of smaller fast attack boats that are loaded with anti-ship missiles like the Gadier or No that they're trying to use for swarm hit-and-run tactics. And that's why the IRGC is saying that the Straits of Hormuz are closed, because they've got these kamikaze-style boats, drones, unmanned surface vessels, even that they're using to threaten the shipping lanes of the Straits of Hormuz. There's no reported widespread mining yet, but that is a tactic in the playbook of the IRGC. But the fear factor alone, saying that the straits could be mined and that they will use kamikaze craft to go after commercial vessels, has commercial vessels basically putting their own stop on traffic. Right now, traffic has dropped 70% in the streets of H. Hormuz. It's not a physical blockade from Iran. It's a basic de facto shutdown through selective attack threats and just intimidation at this point that a lot of commercial vessels are like, yeah, we don't really want to risk that right now. The U.S. Navy could open it at the snap of a finger doing escorts and other missions, but at this point they're focused on an offensive tactic to take down the IRGC, to take down the anti-ship missiles, the drone swarms, and the ballistic missiles. So then at that point, once the IRGC infrastructure is completely eradicated, then there won't be any credible threat, and commercial shipping will pick back up again. Because at this point, the IRGC's remaining navy is like a drunken boxer that stands up from a knockout and is just trying to throw haymakers into the air. But vaporizing Iran's navy in under 3 days and really in under 45 minutes, if you think about it, with F-35 sorties also adding to those Tomahawk missiles is just wild. It shows pure U.S. air and sea dominance. Everything was built for standoff precision at this point, so those Tomahawks give you the ability to go in, strike first, strike fast, and then also the Tomahawks could take down surface-to-air missile sites. So then the F-35s can roll in right after the Tomahawk missiles and take down the Frig, take down any of the Iranian Navy that they want with 500 LBJD dams. Likely that was the star of the show. 500 LBJ dams, $1,000 LBJ dams to finish off the job. And that's more surgical precision added on to the Tomahawks. Asymmetric stuff still exists right now, but that will be pulked off as well, likely by fourth-generation jets like F-16s, F-15E, even A-10s, going in strafing drones, strafing ballistic missile sites, and strafing some of their smaller, fast-attack craft. This was a masterclass in joint operations. Cruise missiles leading the charge, followed up by F-35s rolling in with 500 WB bombs. And when you're bombing ships, you have to be very precise and hit the exact part of the ship that gives you the most effective hit because you want one shot, one kill. Whether that's with a Tomahawk or with a JDAM, you don't want to have to re-attack. And you also have to create silent corridors, and that can be made by F-22s and F-35s, taking down any surface-to-air missile threats that could be coming in trying to hit you as you're going up against the Navy. So it's a coordinated effort across the entire spectrum, cyber warfare, space warfare, and then rolling in with F-22s, F-35s, take down the different missile sites, Tomahawk missiles hit, and then follow that up with F-35s rolling in as the surgical scalpel to finish the job. And then on top of that, the U.S. has unleashed Lucas for you, acronym lovers out there. Low-cost, unmanned combat aerial systems that are one-way attack drones that have made their combat debut already in this war. They're low-cost saturators that can hit smaller vessels and facilities. So you could send out a swarm of these Lucas drones to take down the fast attack boats while they're in pier, while they're not being operated. Send in 500 of these Lucases to take down 500 fast attack boats, and boom, mission complete. Also, HIMAR missiles added ground-based precision on coastal anti-ship sites. So as you can see, there's a lot of different tools in the U.S. military's inventory. On the air side, over 100 aircraft from carriers like the USS Gerald R. Ford and the USS Abraham Lincoln launched aircraft to go in and take down Iran's navy. The USS Abraham Lincoln has F-35s. The USS Ford is focused on the F-18 and the EA-18G, but you team up the EA-18G with the F-35. Now you've got stealth penetrators to take down the defenses and an electronic jamming aircraft that can literally melt the face off of Iran's surface-to-air missile sites and radars. And then you follow that up with precision after the Tomahawk salvos with F-18s, the Striker version of the F-18 Super Hornet rolling in and dropping weapons on the actual Iranian Navy. F-16s bringing in extra strikes, F-15E coming in as well, striking down the asymmetric parts of Iran's Navy. Will likely continue here for the next few weeks. They've got a lot of them. They've got hundreds of fast attack boats, thousands of drones, and then missile sites that will pop up every now and then and need to be dealt with extremely decisively. This is classic seed suppression of enemy air defenses. You dismantle the integrated air defenses, the IADs. You target the leadership and you take down the asymmetric ability of Iran to execute any type of naval power or threat. So let's move to the 4D chess strategic analysis section. And as you know, saying 4D chess just makes me feel really cool. So the US and Israel moved very decisively to eliminate nuclear and missile threats while degrading naval projection. Again, naval projection was a big part of what needed to be taken down, sinking key surface combatants like the Jamaran class that could threaten the straits, all to prevent a bigger catastrophe. Motivations here are clear. Stop Iran from ever going nuclear. Crush their ability to terrorize shipping or proxies, especially in the Straits of Hormuz. Likely outcomes. What will we likely see here? Well, the regime is extremely weakened, and at some point, probably after about 3 to 4 weeks, the gladiator thumbs up will be given to the Iranian people to move in and completely take over the new government. That's just my opinion, but it looks like, to me, this regime is incredibly weakened, and the leadership in Iran does not have a long lifespan at this point. Global energy markets are obviously rattled with oil prices going up now, but I think over the next few weeks we'll see it start to dip as the US eventually will fully open up the Straits of Hormuz and eliminate any intimidation from the IRGC. So let's move to a hypothetical situation. So let's say Iran ramps up asymmetric hits, more drone swarms on tankers, fast boats harassing any type of commercial shipping, and then mining the Straits of Hormuz. Once the US fully focuses their attention on taking down this asymmetric naval warfare, at that point it'll probably just be a week or so and the straits will be fully open. An incredible offense going in and striking down any of the ballistic missile sites, trying to get those ballistic missiles to fully stop firing. That's the #1 goal right now, in my opinion. And then at some point, it will shift to taking out all the asymmetric threats of the IRGC. And what that's going to be is an air tasking order. That's the different orders that are given to the 4th and 5th generation fighters and other aircraft to start planking off and taking down pre-planned targets, which a lot of those targets will involve the guerrilla warfare operations of the IRGC's Navy. Operation Epic Fury. It's showing the world right now. Military power and execution at its finest. U.S. Navy crushing the Iranian Navy teamed up with the U.S. Air Force, vaporizing the Iranian Navy over the course of a couple days, F-35s dropping JDAMs for cleanup. If a Tomahawk isn't enough, just use an F-35. Iran's asymmetric games are keeping things a little bit dicey at this point, but that will likely be ground out here in the next few days or next few hours. More strikes are on their way, it looks like, and Iran's rhetoric is ramping up. So, what do you think happens? Where do you think we go from here? Do you think the full IRGC asymmetric force, guerrilla Navy force, will be taken out here in the next week and they won't be able to threaten the Straits of Hormuz anymore? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Would love to hear what you think. And if you want to see me do a live pretty much every day at this point, click the link in the description, join the Max Ready Room. During the live, I respond to all the questions from members, so click the link in the description, become a channel member, and join me on the lives. I'll see you guys over there. Follow me on X, follow me on Instagram. I'm posting there pretty much every day, and then watch this next video that pops up right here. That's pretty much the best compliment you can give me. Thanks so much for watching, guys.